So today we did a lot of groundwork. We visited Crepes and Waffles, which is a restaurant chain in Bogota that only employ women, and often women that are heads of their households, a lot of single mothers. And we spoke to one of the managers at Crepes and Waffles. There are a lot of the restaurants around the city. It's a big chain, and she put us in touch with the head office. So we took about a 20-minute bus ride to the head office and spoke to the receptionist, who unfortunately wasn't very helpful. She was obviously very busy, so she gave us the name and number of the person we needed to contact, but apparently no one was there to speak to at the time, so it was a little bit of a wasted journey. But we did get the right contact details, so that was good. And we are waiting for a response from Crepes and Waffles, but basically they have a foundation that's linked to the restaurant chain, a bit like, I don't know, the Body Shop with Anita Roddick. She has foundations around the world. So what they're trying to do is basically help the gender inequality situation that is happening here in Bogota and Colombia. So by employing just women, and it's kind of like, it's quite a nice little story, and I'm really hoping we get to speak to perhaps one of the waitresses who might have once been struggling, and Crepes and Waffles has helped them. And what else? We went along to the ICBF, which is a government foundation, or organisation, should I say, institute, that basically can help us gain access to foundations that help teenage mothers. We've done a lot of phoning around, and unfortunately a lot of the people we've spoken to, a lot of the foundations have said we need authority from the ICBF, which is kind of what I wanted to avoid. Is I wanted to kind of go under the radar of the government here. Obviously, speaking to Yara, the dangers to journalists are great. So I was trying to go for a private foundation, but unfortunately Patricia at Fundia Colombia, which was the initial foundation we contacted back in England months and months ago, fell through. She decided, kind of just as I got here, just before I got here, Tatiana told me that she'd emailed her, and Patricia had responded saying she couldn't help anymore, which was very disappointing because we'd put in all the groundwork. And what I'm finding now is very much so in Colombia, you have to go through hierarchies of people. Either that or you gain instant access. I mean, Pro Familia, we got to film and interview straight away. We'd not emailed prior. We just turned up with a camera and they said fine. They had to go and ask a couple of people, but that was it. Or the opposite is true, and you have to do a ridiculous amount of pre-planning before you actually get to speak to anyone. So we went to the ICBF. We spoke to a lovely lady called Sophia, and she again told us off the record that she could probably help us with a private interview, as she looks after and cares for and pays for, funds an Indigenous girl that came to the ICBF, and she was 20, and she couldn't be helped by the ICBF because they only help teenagers up to the age of 19. So there's this gap for sort of 20 years and up who are still young mothers, but don't get any help from the government. So she kind of took her under her wing, this Indigenous girl who'd basically had to run away from her family in rural Colombia because she'd gotten pregnant, and she would have basically been outcast from the family had they found out. So she ran away, and she came to Bogota, and she came to the ICBF, and she met Sophia, and Sophia now pays for her. Her little baby is 1 month old, and she pays for her clothes, her food, everything, which was really interesting. And Sophia agreed for us to do an interview with her and this Indigenous girl. So we're going to phone her today and see what happens with that, and hopefully we can arrange that for next week, because I think that will be really interesting. That's also an example of someone outside of Bogota, in rural Colombia, who may be struggling for different reasons, And our statistics that we found out yesterday was also that the majority of teenage pregnancies are in lower socioeconomic groups, so low income groups, which is, you know, I haven't seen a lot of poverty in Colombia, in Bogota, yet. I saw a glimpse of it yesterday. We were kind of driving on the bus and you started to see, I mean, Bogota is surrounded by mountains and you just started to see like favelas almost. I don't know, we didn't get close enough, but they looked a little bit like shanty towns, and Tatiana explained that yes, the houses in the mountains are not as modern as obviously the ones in Bogota, and it is the poorer that live in the mountains. So Tatiana also has a friend called Olga, who is a teenage mother, or was a teenage mother, I think, and she lives in the mountains, and it would be amazing to go and visit her in her home and go up there, but apparently the only way you can get there is by foot. You can't take a car up there, and Tatiana thinks it's going to be far too dangerous with camera equipment. She said the likelihood is we will get robbed. So unfortunately, if we interview Olga, it's going to have to be she comes to Tatiana's house here.